Okay, seems to be working this time at least. I can see the video. So I'm going to get off of that so it doesn't interrupt it and come back over here. Okay. Well, apparently, I just spent the last 10, 20 minutes talking to myself because the video wasn't coming through. Apparently, now it is coming in. So hopefully, everything else is working. I hope. Let's see. If you are having any problems with anything, let me know. I'm going to check some things right now. La, 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 la. The audio seems to be coming through okay. All right, let's turn some music back on again. Um, all right. I can't believe I just sat there and spent all that time talking about how to use color flats and all of this stuff, and none of it. It's all showing up in here fine in Restream, but it's not going out. That's fun. That's good times. That's real exciting. Let me message old Kyron and see if it's working. All right. Got one person in there. Can you see me? Do you know I'm here? Can you see or hear me? La di da di da di. Some comments to know that I'm not talking to myself in an office by myself would be wonderful. Mean the world. Man, I cannot believe I just sat there and spent all that time putting out a blank screen while I was dropping some great knowledge. That's a pain in the butt. Well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do but carry on? Sally forth. Sally 5th and 6th while you're at it. There's such a delay on that. I don't dare accidentally turn the audio on, or I'll get a hell of a feedback. So, all right, I'm getting no response. Okay, Kyron, thank you very much, Mr. Kyron on the Twitch. All right, at least it's working now. That's good. Man, I cannot believe I sat there for all that time. And I gave out some good information on how to use color flats and to make them work for nothing. Nothing. Wasn't shut. Restream's getting on my last ever loving nerve. That's what they're doing. I dare say they're doing it on purpose. I don't know what that purpose would be. Take my money and run, maybe. I don't know. Could be. Makes about as much sense as anything else in this crazy mixed up world of ours. Alright. Man, that is so disheartening to have spent all that time for nothing. But thank you for letting me know, Kyron. I appreciate you shouting at me and letting me know. I can always count on you to tell me when I'm screwing up. And I appreciate that. Alright, I'm going to save that for right now. I might want to come back in and darken things up. Oh, well, I can definitely see one thing I need to fix right now because those cables in the background are brown in the other scene. Let's see. I don't really care for that. Let's go gray and see what that looks like. It's a little better, I guess. I'll play with it. I may come back and change it. It's my prerogative. What I want to do, it's my prerogative. What is up, J-Man? Glad you're here, man. I I just spent like 20 minutes screaming into the void, thinking I was giving some great tips on how to color comic books, and wasn't nobody seeing it, J-Man. It's upsetting. It's enough to get a fish riled, and the last thing you want is a riled fish on your hands. Ain't no good. Ain't no good for nobody. Have a riled fish on your hands. All right, we're gonna save that one because I colored that whole page with nobody watching. Yeah, I saw. I just have my hands full. I didn't get to do my art stream yesterday morning because I was real sick yesterday morning. I'm feeling a little better today, so I wanted to try and give it a shot, and I wanted to see if I get any better results doing it in the evening when folks get off of work. Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see. And I just had a conversation with a dear friend that I talk to every day, like I talk to J Man every day. And this friend we talk every single day. And this friend had absolutely no idea I was running a Kickstarter, much less that I had 3 books on it. And I'm like, seriously? I've been trying to post and post and post and post and post and post and post, especially the last few days. I try not to kill myself the first half of the campaign to see how it would go if I didn't kill myself on a campaign. And turns out not good. And so the last week or so, I've been trying to really hit it hard with the posts. And to find out, like, we talk every day and he didn't realize my campaign was live. And I'm like, man, that is disheartening. That means everything I've posted has had no effect on I knew it wasn't getting a lot of views, but man, this is a tough business to make money in to start with. And boy, the websites, the social media and stuff now just seem to really be trying to make it as hard as possible. And I was just watching a video from somebody that worked at several different tech firms that worked with different social media companies and stuff, and said that they all go through the same stage, and they get to, they get a lot of, okay, we're going to talk now because now you got me talking, J-Man. You got me started, and everybody knows not to get me started, J-Man. Oh, coming in here, get me fired up. Now you got a wild fish on your hands. Anyway, she was talking about how all of these different social media companies start out great, and you start out with great organic reach like we used to get on Facebook before. And like used to, you could set up a page for your business and get all your friends in town to like it. And when they liked it, then every time you made a post and they're following your page, they get to see your posts in their feed. And they'd be like, oh, hey, the grilled cheese truck is going to be showing up on this corner today. Let's go down to that corner and get lunch. But then eventually they grew to the point where, like, they were making as much money as they could possibly make on regular advertising and regular growth. And then it becomes about, how do we make more money from here? And the way we make more money from here is, instead of letting you get natural organic reach, which is what brought you into the platform to start with, we can start throttling down your reach and start offering you the opportunity to pay for it, until eventually the only way you're going to get views is to pay for it. And eventually it's going to kill enough interest in the program that nobody wants to be there anymore. Like, the young people don't want to be on Facebook anymore, and they move to something else like TikTok. And TikTok had amazing organic reach for a long time. And you post something and they showed it to all kinds of people, and it was great. And then they started making money off of it, and they started putting in advertisements, until eventually there's so many advertisements they can't really put in anymore, and they've already started to lower the user experience by having so many advertisements. And then they offer sales where we could sell stuff on the platform, which is good. And then they're like, okay, how can we make more money now? How can we get more profit since we can't pump in more advertising? Let's make the people pay to get their views out. And now you're getting less views out. And it's just, and she said, like, it's a system that these businesses keep falling into. How can we make more money? And that how do we make more money ends up coming off of the backs of the people and not the advertisers and the salesmen and the businesses. It comes off the backs of the people, and then eventually they strangle themselves, like MySpace, and nobody's there anymore. The algorithm is Skynet. Yep. They don't have to launch Terminators to kill us. They could just keep us busy with stupid videos. And we just won't do nothing. They could rule the world, and we won't say boo about it, as long as they keep the feed coming. But J-Man got me ranting. J-Man got me out here complaining about the world and all the many various beautiful ways that it sucks, and not talking about my amazing books that are out there, like the Kickstarter that's live right now at GoMrFish.com, where you can get issue 2 of The Mighty Caw, the Cro-Magnon. It takes place right where issue 1 leaves off. They've released the Hellhounds of hyperspace on him, and the Hellhounds are ripping through the ship trying to find him, and he's ripping through the pirates in the ship. Which one's going to win? I wonder. Who's the book named after? I'll give you a hint. And Fish Tales Volume 1, which is my new anthology series, which has 4 awesome new stories in it. This is going to be the patron-only cover, so only the Patreon backers are going to get this one. But there's cool covers and a sexy cover on there that you can get. You can get as an add-on, too, if you want now. And T-Man and Hyperstrike Remastered, which takes my original black and white book from 5 years ago and colors and re-letters it and gets it all polished up, ready to go for a new generation. And I'm working on those colors right now. He said every one of us. I wish I could use that without getting sued. Ever since J-Man stuck that in my brain, I'm like, God, that would be such an awesome theme song. Except, I don't want to get sued by Freddie Mercury's estate or anything. I don't know if the makers of the Flash Gordon movie would even care. I don't know. But I bet Queen would care. I bet Queen would indeed care. Excuse me. Pirate gave me a little bit of the burp. All right, now we're going to color in a little Hyperstrike the way we do. Skadoosh with a little orange. And man, Shane did a really good job of getting these flats really close to the colors they need to be. So sometimes I can't even tell if something's been colored or not for sure, because sometimes it's just such a subtle difference between the standard color that I use for something, and sometimes she's dead on. Sometimes it's really, really close. And sometimes it's all kinds of crazy off, but that's bound to happen in a world full of people and the mistakes they will make. All right, and skadoosh, we grab that, and we're going to paint that orange. And bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Grab that gray. And paint. And paint. And all right. Oh, can't have her wings going around all blue. Her energy stuff is all orange. Just simply would not do. Would not do at all. Alright, now I'm going to come in with a little bit of Yonder airbrush. And let's drop that size down a little more. And airbrush the centers where it's coming. I want it to feel like energy and not just like orange blades sticking out. Oops. All right, now, why wasn't that selected? That's what I want to know. That's the question all the people want to know. They're hungry for answers. They're hungry for answers and cornbread, and I've only got the one. Wishing I had the other. Let's see. Oh, man, Dan, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving to you, man. I kind of had to sit it out. I got half a peanut butter sandwich and a bottle of Powerade for my Thanksgiving lunch because I was sick. And I didn't want to go get all the grannies sick. But I did get a plate of Thanksgiving for dinner, and that was nice. And I held it down pretty well, like a champ, so I'm proud of that. J-Man says, they made so many crossovers, but the one I haven't seen is Flash Gordon meets Buck Rogers. Indeed. Well, and that's the thing. Flash Gordon isn't even in the future, is he? Really? Maybe it was a hair in the future. I can't remember when it started out, but they just go to another planet and find Ming the Merciless and all that stuff, and realize there's a whole lot more out here. Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers gets tossed into the future, and so could they encounter each other? Or would Flash Gordon have to get tossed into the future? And if it is the same world, what happened to Ming's empire in the world of Buck Rogers? I'd be interested to know. Inquiring fishies want to know. And nobody's giving us answers, just questions, J-Man. Told J-Man to come in here with answers, not questions. Didn't listen. That's J-Man for you. All right, now we come down to my custom color chart that has all the fancy colors in it for all the fancy heroes. And we grab that right yonder. And we're gonna paint that. And then we're gonna come in right yonder and grab all of them there. And we're going to paint them with that right yonder. Bloop. And now we are going to grab this part of the cape and his accoutrement, trim and whatnot. Come. Oh, this mouse. There we go. And skadoosh. And then we're going to come in with the shadow cape color for underneath. It's out of the direct light. And we're going to put that dark green under there. Boom. And like that, we got some characters colored. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Dumb fishy. You put his skin color. Stupid fishy. Put the skin color as the trim on his cape color. Stupid fishy. What's wrong with you? Don't you know no better? It's not that different, really. It's not that. But J-Man says, I think original Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers are the same timeline, maybe a galaxy over from them. Yeah, and the other thing about the original Battlestar Galactica was taking place then in the 80s. They were from another galaxy that was far advanced, and they had sent exploratory ships out to seed the galaxy to, like, seek out and find new worlds for them to, expand the kingdom and whatnot. And then when their homeworld got destroyed and they had to go out and try and find one of these outposts, they were hunting for our world where people had come thousands of years ago from their world. So it was taking place now too. So they could cross over with Flash Gordon. I never thought about this in that much detail. But that's two high fantasy science fiction things going on that were both happening basically real time. Like Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, and Battlestar Galactica. And those were like real time. And I think part of the reason they did that was because they wanted to tie in with the long time ago in a galaxy far away from Star Wars aspect. And, because basically they were trying to do Star Wars on TV and bring all those fans over. So they kept as close as they could to it. Brought in robots and ships and aliens and whatnot. Oh man, those ear pieces make my ears itch. I don't know if there's latex in the little part in there. I thought it was silicone, but if it's latex, that'll mess me up. But it makes my ear itch. Yeah, that's just real close in colors. That's crazy. I didn't think about how many of them were happening at the same time. And I don't have the freaking screen up while I'm sitting here drawing. Why J-Man let me do that? He let me do it again. I can't believe it. If Kyron had been here, Kyron would have done texted me. He told me I was being an idiot. I need a producer. That's what I need. I need a producer something terrible. So I quit making stupid mistakes and start making smart mistakes. It's the only way to get ahead in this business is to start making smart mistakes. Screw up smarter. That's what Dan told me. But I didn't listen. I was too pig-headed. Arrogant, really. That was my problem. I was too arrogant to listen. Tried to warn me. Tell me to fail smarter. But no. I thought I knew better. I thought I could just go online and talk a bunch of crazy shit. It would make me millions. Turns out it don't work that way. Little J-Man from Chicago said, I went on a rant at work with a young 21-year-old girl that was drinking at Starbucks coffee, and I told her who the real Starbuck was and where he came from, yada, yada, yada. She could care less. Back in my day, before you were born, the real Starbuck was that pretty fella from 18. They didn't drink no sissy coffees. They took shots in the neck that knocked out Mr. T so they could make him fly because he was scared to fly. And it was always a bit to see how they were going to get him on the plane. I don't know why this man would ever trust anything these idiots ever said again, but when you're wanted by the U.S. government and whatnot, you gotta do what you gotta do. Lord knows the last time I was on the run from the CIA, I had to hang out with all kinds of nefarious folks I was not a fan of. Yeah. That's how me and Tony became friends. I mean, never mind. I didn't say that. I feel like I just gave myself a concussion for that little bit. Stupid fishy, it wasn't worth it. Not for 2 viewers. If we had 200, it's worth the concussion. Templeton Peck, aka Face or Face Man. Now, see? You want to know who's got all the useless knowledge? It's my man, J-Man. You just think I got all the useless knowledge. I have an abundance, but I don't have it all. Not by a long shot. Like, I know Mr. T's name was B.A. Baracus, but I don't remember what B.A. stood for. I think we were supposed to, like, jokingly assume it stood for badass, but I don't know. But I don't know what the B.A. stood for. But I'll bet you little J-Man knows. I bet you he's talking to his friend Google right now. Bad attitude. There we go. There we go. I knew J-Man would know. J-Man's got all the answers you didn't know you needed to know. Oh, girl, the Starbucks should have been grateful for the opportunity to be sculpted. I'm just being silly, like a fish'll do. And trust me, a fish'll do. All right, let's grab this over here. And I'm going to grab this color right up above it. And we're going to go a little darker, hair desaturated, and plunk that in. Because I kind of want it to feel like it's disappearing into the sky a little bit, but not super, super bad. J-Man says it's not Google, it's J-Lugal. Useless knowledge. Maybe it's Maybelline. Nope. Years of being a nerd and watching TV. That's what it is. That's all right by me. I swear to God, I thought I was the only person in the world that remembered the show not Bosom Buddies, Perfect Strangers for the longest time. I couldn't find anybody else that remembered that show, and I loved that show. Everybody remembers Family Matters. Nobody remembers that Family Matters was a spinoff from Perfect Strangers. No, they just forget all about Balky Bartakamos and the little island nation of Meepos. Couldn't care less, they say. They threw them away like so much yak meat. It's cruel. You wouldn't do that to a goat herder. Not on Meepos. Well, you wouldn't do it twice. Anyway. Okay, now we got a problem here, because I've tried painting it with the highlight and the shadow color, and neither one of them made a difference. Let's try this one more time. Okay, there we go. Now it worked with the shadow. Yep, Balky Bartakamos. He was my boy. I loved that show. Like, they did. And I just recently got to go back and watch it. And, like, they did a lot of old school bits in it, you know, and like a little bit of like held over vaudeville bits and humor every once in a while. But man, if it works, it works. And I just adored that show as a kid. and it's still pretty funny. Now, Cousin Larry is super cringy now. Like, watching the show, I always loved Cousin Larry and thought I wanted to be like Cousin Larry when I was a kid. No, I did not want to be a Cousin Larry. Man, he was a manipulative creeper now looking back at it. But, you know, at the time I was just a kid and it was just a show. But now looking back, I'm like, yeesh. That probably gave some people some bad ideas on how to behave around the lady folk. Women, if you will. And I will. Oh, I love being stupid. I'm glad it comes so naturally. What a burden if I had to struggle to act this stupid. What a burden if it wasn't an act. I probably could have just painted all these windows at the same time and got basically the same effect because I don't think I'm making enough of a difference. So I'm going to try that and see what happens. Yeah. Good enough for the chicks we date. That's what Dan told me. And then he told me not to tell his wife. I was like, all right. I won't, but you know how we like to gab on our weekly gab sessions. Braiding each other's hairs and whatnot. Painting the fingernails and talking about boys, as you do. Okay, maybe that was a little dark. Let's try. Okay, that'll work. Oh yeah, they did live in Chicago. I forgot about that. That was right by you. Cousin Natty. Of course not. Don't be ridiculous. Just for the sake of argument. What? You do know what that means, right? Of course I do. Don't be ridiculous. But if I didn't? And like the jokes were always telegraphed way in advance and stuff, but like it was just fun. It wasn't overcomplicated. It didn't overthink it. It was, a fish out of water story. An uptight cousin who's, thinks he can muscle his way through doing everything the right way and get ahead. And a fun loving, goofy cousin that just stumbles into everything as a happy accident. And it was just fun. And I loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. That's what she said. All right. Now we got to come down yonder and bring the thunder. Oh, yeah. A lot of the stuff that we used to watch was pretty cringy. And it's funny though to go back and look at some of it now. Some of it's real bad cringy. And then sometimes like they really tried to do some really forward-thinking stuff at times. Like The Love Boat does a lot of really cringy stuff over the series and lots of it does some cringy stuff. But then they did an episode that, maybe it was a little heavy-handed, I don't know. But they did an episode about a gopher and one of his long lost friends coming back to see him on the boat, and now they've transitioned and they're a female, and he gets really upset about it, but he's really more upset that they didn't tell him and that he couldn't be there for them during that. And when the captain of all people's like, well, you know how those people are. And he was like, oh, what? How are they? Willing to suffer and go through all kinds of trouble and being harassed by people for no reason just to be who they are on the inside. Like, it was really forward thinking and progressive for something being written at that time. And like Archie Bunker, oh my God, was cringeworthy. But then every once in a while, in a very cringy, hetero, cis, white male kind of way, it tried to be progressive, and it's weird. And then other stuff is just needlessly weird and gross at times. And a lot of it comes from who's in the writers' room. Like I just watched. What hell with it? We just gonna chat for a second. I was just watching an interview with Steve Urkel, and he was talking about how, in the first season of Family Matters before he got brought in, and it was struggling. Like it was struggling in large part because it was all white men and mostly white Jewish men in the writing room, and they've got black women coming in, saying "oy vey" when they sit down. Like they're trying to use Jewish jokes on black characters, and it just came off as disingenuous. But they didn't know how to write anything else, and it wasn't until he came on, and he was actually coded very white of a character. Like he was a nerd, and he liked polka, and he liked all these things that made him very easy for a bunch of older white Jewish writers to write for. And it suddenly took off because they could write jokes that really worked for him and not have to focus on trying to write believable black characters. But it ended up working. But man, it's tough stuff. Most of that stuff wouldn't make it on air today. Speaking of Love Boat, what did Captain Steubing do besides walk around trying to find a date and eat dinner? He never steered the ship. He stirred shit all the time. He'd be out there stirring shit up, yeah. But how the hell is Kirk flying a ship? Like, how is he really captaining a ship when half the time he's going down on the planet on away missions? Like, that's not captain shit. But it makes it more interesting when you want the captain to be your main character. I think a lot of those shows could have been a lot more interesting. Especially Star Trek. One of the things I like about Lower Decks is you were seeing it from the crew's point of view, and you do see the upper management side of things, you do see the captain's point of view and stuff at times, but it's really focusing on it from the lower point of view, which I think would be very interesting. If you're the science officer that's always getting sent on the away missions and stuff and risking your life, but you have to do what you're being commanded to do, and it's not oh, I'm the heroic captain, but it's the captain is your boss and somebody to be feared, but not somebody that you really know, and it could be really interesting. Yeah, spell checker doesn't always work. That happens. That happens to the best of us. I know, because it happened to me, and how hard the best of us. Oh, Fishy. You tickle me, Fishy. Yes, like a pervert in a parking lot, I tickle myself. Okay, let's grab that yonder, and we're gonna grab that color. And you can't see what I'm doing because J-Man didn't tell me to put the picture back on. J-Man's falling down on his job. I'm telling you, I don't know what to do. Gonna have to fire him and get another J-Man. Have you seen the prices on those things? They're expensive. It's not the adoption cost so much, it's the aftermarket care that'll get you. That's where they stick you. They're all, oh, don't you want to adopt a cute little J-Man? Oh, they're so cute and fluffy. Well, yes, I want to adopt a J-Man. That seems great. We can afford a J-Man. Then you find out, you know, how much it costs to keep a J-Man in used movies. That gets expensive. You know how much it costs to keep him in weird flavors of Mountain Dew alone? Mercy. I could have got 2 chinchillas for the cost of all them crazy Mountain Dews. Oh yeah, Bosom Buddies wouldn't work today. I loved it at the time, but because at the time it was just silly. But like now you can't do it without it feeling like, you're taking aim and making fun at transgender people and whatnot. And that was never the intent, but it would absolutely come off feeling that way now. And I absolutely couldn't blame him for feeling that way. Like, but then for that matter, like, I can't watch the Snorks and, the little green dude that talks and all beeps and whips and honks and whatnot was just meant to be a joke, but I can't help but think about him every time I have a bad tick fit now. And I'm like, man, that ain't funny. It was funny when I was a kid. It ain't funny now. Bonnie Queer, Bonnie ha ha. See, that right there is a line that you can't say in that, but I got it stuck in my head when Sling Blade came out. It came busting out as a tick the other day. Just for the record, I don't mean any offense by that. It's just a phrase that got stuck in my head years ago. A lot of my swearing ticks are like that. They're just often weird, obscure things that I picked up as a kid that still come popping out from time to time. Because why not? It's fun to cuss like a 10-year-old, right? Right? We all want to do that, right? No, we don't. Well, I tell you, nothing aggravates me more than somebody being like, man, I wish I had corpulalia so I could just swear whenever I wanted to and nobody get mad about it. Every time somebody says that, we'll be like out to eat somewhere or something because people that come to my house don't say stuff like that. But like we'll be out at Walmart or we'll be out to eat or something. So I'm like, oh man, I wish I had Tourette's. I could just cuss all I want and nobody'd say boo about it. And I'm like, all right, stand up and yell the N word at the top of your lungs right now. And they're like, oh, hell no. And I'm like, why? It's not fun? Because I've seen 13-year-old kids get jumped by grown-ass men and women for ticks they can't help. It ain't fun. It can be funny at times. And my rule is, especially if you're my friend, it is absolutely 100% okay to laugh at a funny tick. Because I laugh at funny ticks. Some of them just are funny, even if they are inappropriate sometimes. Sometimes it just hits it the right way and it's funny. And that's okay. It's not okay to like try and trigger me to tick, or to find something that knowingly sets me off and try and use that like a party trick. That is not cool, and people have done that many a times. That's usually when you find those people that you need to edit out of your circle, because they are not somebody you can trust. It stinks, but they're out there. I had one dude, like, anytime we were at a get together or something, he would be trying to trigger me to tick. If I yelled out something funny at church, and then later we're at a church social outreach thing for the community, he'd gather his friends around and try and get me to tick and get me to say what I said that day, thinking it was funny. I'm like, man, that ain't cool. That ain't the way you treat friends. That ain't the way you treat human beings. Well, not if you are one. That's not selective, because she didn't do that way. But then, like my other buddy, Matt, when he said something about G.I. Joe one day. Oh, he said, knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe! And I yelled out G.I. Joe. Um, he he realized that day, he was like, ooh. And for a second, he giggled to himself and was like, man, I got a lot of power here. And then was like, yeah, and that's power I can't use, because that would be being a crappy friend. And me and him have been tight ever since, because he's somebody I can trust, somebody I can be around and know that, like, even if he accidentally sets me off, which is fine. There is absolutely no way to prevent accidentally setting something off. There's just too many catchphrases and triggers and things that will, cause me to tick. But, even just startling me will make me tick. But, like, knowing that, oh crap, I startled you, I'm sorry, that's fine. But if you realize, like, oh, that'll make him tick, and you start trying to spook me to get a show, then that's not cool. That's the person that we don't hang around anymore. Little J Man from Chicago said, Fish, how many colors did you try before you decided on the green on T-Man? And the answer might shock you. Well, J-Man, I tried about 3 colors of the same green, like between teal green and teal blue, like, because the color for Tourette syndrome is a dark teal green, like, and it's the same color for a lot of different things. It's like, I can't remember, dissociative identity disorder, ovarian cancer, all kinds of things have the same color, like ribbon. But that's the color for Tourette syndrome. So I tried to find a green that would be very close to that. And it, I think, has evolved a little bit more into just a greener green, but that's what I'm trying to shoot for, is that color of green. but there's also the variation in the way the colors print. And like each time you send a file to Kablam to print, the computer converts the file over to CMYK because they just gave up on trying to get people to send them CMYK files. So now they ask you to send them RGB files because it's just easier on them. And they let the computer convert it when they print the file, but the computer like converts it every time it makes a print. So one print run might come out a little bit different than the next print run because it's reconverting the colors each time. And sometimes the costume might come out a little darker, a little lighter or something. So there's variation in the printing process already. So I'm trying to get close to that color, close to what I hope comes out to be the right color in the final product. But that's where the teal, green, and gold costume came from, is trying to match up to the Tourette's ribbon. I would have probably gone with like a blue, red, and gold costume or something and made it much more old school, flashy, superhero-ish if I could have done it myself. Like, there was an obscure Superman game that I only saw in the 80s at arcades, and only at a couple of arcades, and it had like 3 or 4 handles on it, like the old X-Men game, and you could play several different Supermen at one time in this game, and each one came out in a different color variation. And there was a red suit Spider-Man in there, or Superman on that game, sorry, that had like a red suit and I think a blue cape and like gold boots or something, and or maybe blue boots, I can't remember, and gold underwear, something like that. But it swapped the colors, and as a kid, I thought that was the coolest freaking color scheme in the world, and it has really permeated my mind and my imagination since then. And several characters have come out with a similar type of color scheme in my life because that embedded in me so much. And like, he's kind of designed around that color scheme, but I can't use that color scheme. But if I had to use that color scheme, I realized he would have come out looking a lot like Red Tornado. And the green and gold is the only thing that keeps him from being an instant looking Red Tornado ripoff. And I didn't catch that until later. Like I knew there was a Red Tornado, but I didn't like really know what the character looked like off the top of my head until after I published this. And then I was like, and then later on, I really kind of got into Red Tornado because I like robots and cyborgs and stuff. And I really got into him, and then I was like, oh crap, yeah, that's a problem. J-Man asks if I can find which frickin' screen my mouse is on. J-Man asks, do you have a lot of throwaway characters you've drawn that you might bring back to life in the future? Dude. Bro, Cephas. Man. Dude. Okay, hold on a second. Alright, almost. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to count them up real quick. Let's see if I can find it. No, I can't. Okay, let me go to. I'm trying to look on my backup disk. Where stuff is saved. Just a second. Clicking. I have to go through so many freaking menus to get to it. Okay. Clicking on it. Okay. Yeah, I've got. There's got to be more than that. Yeah, there has got to be more than that. When you get your copy of Fishtails, if you get one of the ones that has this cover on it, let me let me make myself bigger so you can see. That has this cover on it. The cover is surrounded by all kinds of characters that I have made over the last 3 years or so. Some of them are older characters, like Goliath goes back several years. Um, but a lot of them, like he just shows up in the source book for the Mighty Caw, and he shows up in the next issue of Caw, and he's in my Capital Punishment strip in A Kid in a Comic right now. Some of these guys have already shown, like there's Johnny the Vault right there, who shows up in Green Zone issue 2. But yeah, there's like 150 something characters just in this border area, something like that. Um, and a lot of them are quick designs, but a lot of them have backstory and stuff to them. And then there's hundreds of characters from over the years that I've designed and developed in sketchbooks and stuff that never went anywhere. I would love to do stuff with all of them, but there's only so much time. I just got my Art of Ryan Robinson sketchbook today, and I've really been wanting to do a sketchbook myself, and I'm starting to think about maybe doing a sketchbook and putting all of these characters in there and putting in like what I randomly rolled up for superpowers when I designed this character, and show like maybe some of the sketches that I went through in trying to nail down the look that I was going to do, which usually comes out pretty quickly, but sometimes I take various passes at it. Not often, but sometimes. And show some of that stuff in there along with like the final piece. But and like a little bit about what I was thinking. And oh, dude, you need to open it. It's beautiful. I really floored with the way they laid it out, and it was done very simply and beautifully. And its choice. It is such a nice looking book. And they upgraded the look of it from even the samples that they showed on the Kickstarter. Like it looks better. It looks better, and I'm super happy with the way it came out. I'm really happy for Ryan. He's going to kill it with this book. And I can't wait to hear about the next show that he goes to and sells tons of these books. I'm so excited to see what happens with that for him. But anyway, it came out really nice, and I've been wanting to do one for a while. I just haven't been able to decide how I wanted to do it. Like, did I want to just show all these pinups of characters and not have any backstory on who they are, where they come from, or how I came up with the idea? Or, like, if I do that, that's going to take time. And that's going to take time to put all that together. And I have to be able to pay myself for that time, which is kind of hard to do right this second. So I'd like to do it. I'm just going to have to find a way to get the funds together to be able to afford to spend a month putting that book together. Um, but yeah, that's definitely on the list of something I'd like to do. And I'd also like to share the creativity exercise game that I use to make up these characters, because like when you're stuck trying to think of something, it really helps to just pick some random things and then try and make something out of it. Like grab random junk and put it together. And I'm constantly looking at bottles and shapes and things. And like I was just playing around when I set up my pills the other day for the week, and I had various different pill bottles left over that were empty after I opened new bottles and switched them out. And I had several different sized bottles laying around. And when I got done, I was about to throw them away, and I had all these bottles in my hand, and I was playing with them. And next thing you know, I made a sniper scope out of them. And my wife's giggling at me because I'm like looking through the house with my little sniper scope made out of prescription bottles. And I'm like, oh, there's Luna. Now she's dead. Oh, there's Libby. Now she's dead. Um, but like I'm constantly looking at them and thinking, like, what could I turn that into? The spaceship from the Mighty Caw is literally this utility knife. Like when you look at the shape of this utility knife, this is the front of the ship. This is the the raised tower in the back where the captain's sitting, and then there's a screwdriver that I have around here somewhere that I used for the engine down the side of it, and that is literally where I got the idea for the ship from. Because I was just looking around trying to think of something that would make a cool ship. I very nearly almost used my other mouse because it has a really cool shape to it, but it has a very small attack ship TIE fighter kind of vibe, like something you'd have one or two people in, not a whole crew of people. But that helps me come up with ideas for stuff like that. I have so much junk laying around, and sometimes, like if I'm making something, if I'm coming up with something that I'm going to use several times in a book going forward, like on one story I was working on, I knew there was going to be a space station that was going to feature very heavily in this story, and you were going to see this space station at various points in time, and in the future it's been added on to by dozens of different alien species that have taken control of the station over the years. So I knew I wanted the space station to be able to grow and be able to have some very different looking shapes on it in different places. And but I also needed to be able to show the space station from various angles and remember where everything was. So I built it out of Legos, and I took a buttload of photographs of it from all kinds of different angles. And so now that it's broken back into its base pieces, they're all in a Ziploc bag labeled that's that space station. So I can put it back together again, but I can also put it back together in less pieces and know, okay, this is 200 years ago, this is 1,000 years ago, this is 2,000 years ago, and whittle it back down to the base if I need to. And you can see how it's been added on to, but then I can take that and look at it from any angle and get a good look at it. I have a gigantic box of Hot Wheel cars laying around here that I use as references for cars sometimes, and I'll dig through that box and be like, okay, I need an armored truck. Boom, here's an armored truck. What angle do I want it? What angle is Five Star going to be holding this at? Okay, there. And then I can use that to draw what it looks like. And like I will gather up junk, and if I'm like, when I get to the point on Green Zone where I'm showing when I get to show the Alpha headquarters on Green Zone, I want to build an actual like small model of the Alpha headquarters so I can do that same thing with it. And I'm going to build an actual little building, maybe about yay high, that I can take pictures of from all different angles and stuff to get the perspective right for whatever the angle is going to be, and always have it be right, because that's just easier. Just like I had 3D models made of the Green Zone vehicles because they were so different. I couldn't find a Hot Wheels car to look like what I wanted. Like it was so unique. I had somebody make me a 3D model. But I would like to add how I do those exercises and how I create things out of junk and create spaceships out of junk and robots and stuff, and how I take inspiration from different things. And like, well, I could take this look from clothing, and if I make that shapes in a robot, like the way that weird sleeve drapes in this jacket, if I made that the arm of a robot, that gives me a really cool, neat, unique shape to this robot arm that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And so I want to put some of that stuff in there too, of like how I get there to some of these ideas and how I get inspired to some of these ideas. So maybe people can start getting ideas from new places. And The question is, do I want to write just a book about this creativity exercise, or do I just want to do a sketchbook that talks about how I got all these different what all these different things are? Or do I just do a sketchbook that just has my crap in it and walk away, which would be very easy to do. But easy isn't always the most valuable. And if it's not really valuable to anybody else, yeah, I'm not Kim Jong-gi. Like, my art isn't as valuable to people as his is. You could take any sketchbook that dude doodled in and print it, and it'll make, $1 million. I'm not him. Rest his soul. But I don't know. But like, if I was gonna do a full-on like art creativity book, then that becomes a whole other thing, and that could take like a year to put out, and I don't have the finances right now to do that, to devote to that. Like, if there was a publisher that wanted to give me an advance and pay me to work on it for 6 months straight doing nothing else, I could do that and have it out, yeah. But J-Man, you want to hire me to do a book? Just saying. Anyhow. All right. Counting the 20-30 minutes I did that nobody saw, I'm at like an hour and a half now on this stream. So I'm going to save what I'm doing, and I'm going to get off of here and stretch my back out and see about getting something to eat, because it's getting late. Thank you for hanging out, J-Man. It's been a lot of fun. I'm probably going to do some more evening streams, especially heading out to the end of the campaign, which, if you don't know, you can go to GoMrFish.com right now, and you can get these 3 awesome books, which are available now. Fish Tales, the sci-fi anthology series, which has 4 new stories in it, including Alice Lost in Wonderland, which features a fully grown Alice and her Clockwork Guardian, Big Ten, as they're lost in this multidimensional wasteland called Wonderland. Or T-Man and Hyperstrike Remastered, which is the original book that I did with new pages added, all relettered, recolored, the whole 9 yards, whole new book out of it. Or The Mighty Call of the Cro-Magnon, Issue 2, Hellhounds of Hyperspace, which picks up right where Savage from Beyond the Stars left off. And it is cool, it is action-packed. There are lots of bloody, gory kills and whatnot. Everything but T-Man and Hyperstrike is finished. Like, the books are done, they're ready. The Patreon backers have already got these shipped out to them. I'll bet some of them have already started getting them. The book's done. It looks cool. I'm just waiting for the money from Kickstarter to do a big print run, and then there you go. Bob's your uncle will be done. Thank you very much for hanging out. Thank you for loving my work, J-Man. I really appreciate you being a fan of our work, and I appreciate you being a friend. Thank you very much. But my back hurts, so I'm gonna get off of here and go get something to eat, see if my wife's home, and give her a smooch. Have a good day, guys. Love y'all, and where is it? Peace out. Hello, everybody. It is your Uncle Fish back again for School of Fish art stream. J-Man wants Gatling gun on the end of his tail. Oh my goodness. J-Man says the tail's where you put all the heavy artillery. Damn. Said he used to have a howitzer on the end of his tail.